Now, my question to you is, what's your perspective on generative AI in education? And do you use it in your assignments or not? If you do, how do you use it? I want real answers. I don't want you to lie. Like, it's okay if you're using generative AI in your assignments if you're not getting it to do your work. So, what is your perspective on generative AI? Grammar check, subject-word agreement, okay. So basically, you're using it at the level of Grammarly. Subject, okay, that's understandable. So, what else do you use it for? Yeah.
Sometimes when I got the articles from my lectures and it's so long, so at first I will ask for example, like the AI, right? Would you just give me the outlines from these articles? And then they put like some outlines, and then after that I read the articles deeply and I compare.
Okay, so the answer here for our online fam, the answer was, I get it to summarize the key points from an article and give me an outline. I think it is useless. Just describes problem, but like people lack ability to give real answers. Then again, no, that's completely valid. I really appreciate you sharing it with me. Any other way you use it for your assignments? Are you afraid to tell me, or is it really you're not using it?
To make the outline.
To make the outline of the assessment. Okay, so you give it the task description and say, go ahead and give me the outline.
Yeah.
Okay, that's bold. Okay, what else?
When I start my assessments, I have no ideas. I will tell me some ideas. Brainstorm.
So you use it for brainstorming ideas. Okay, that's interesting. Like a thesaurus, enhanced sentence structure. I use it as grammar check, but not to generate the content. Okay, that's good to hear. Using ChatGPT to check my assignment and whether I've answered the question properly. Okay, that's wise. Because sometimes you could miss something, but it can pick it up. Reward sentences to sound more scholarly. Okay. I do that. Recommend strong resources for me to read and use. Okay, that's interesting. Now, what I want to talk about is, like with ChatGPT or generative AI. So I asked about your perspective, so let me share mine with you. We cannot resist it. We are going to use it at the end of the day. And also, it's not a bad thing. But depends on how you are using it. Now, if you know me, I'm a big advocate of process over product. And the reality is I am always arguing for we need more process-based assessment so we can see how the thought process is evolving and what are we learning in the process, rather than just going home and doing writing an essay and submitting something without even thinking about, have I made progress, what did I learn through it, and most of the time you get the feedback, lots of students don't bother to read the feedback, and that's what we really don't want in education. Now, generative AI is giving us that possibility. Now, the journey is so important, isn't it? Now, in the past couple of months, I've dedicated a lot of time understanding how generative AI works. Of course, not the technical aspect, but mostly thinking about prompt engineering. And I think I made a breakthrough. It is getting better. Now, let's go ahead and put it to a test. What we want to do is to first see an example and then go ahead and use it to get personalized feedback and then think about it. So what I want you to pay attention is what matters when you're using generative AI. When you're using generative AI, what is important is using an effective prompt. That's where prompt engineering coming. And then also, when you get the feedback, your evaluation, your critical thinking, and your creative thinking. Because if you are not thinking critically, the feedback you get is going to be so either general, or you're going to change and then figure out, no, I shouldn't have changed it. So what I want to show you is an example of how can we use it, and then we're going to put it to use. I went on and gave ChatGPT a very specific prompt that I designed, which I'm then going to ask you to use on your draft and whatever level you're in, how much you've completed. So I asked it, I'm a beginner researcher doing a master's of education. Now, why I'm doing that is because ChatGPT, generative AI, does not have any context, okay? So give it context, so the feedback is more useful to you, okay? If you're here and it is talking to you at this level, sorry, you don't see this. If you're here and if the ChatGPT is talking to you at this level, then the feedback is not going to be helpful for you, okay? So give it context. And then I want you to read my research proposal. You're saying what it is. Give me feedback based on the following points. And I made it very, very specific what I wanted to look for. I'm saying, does my project title align with ideas discussed in my literature review? Because remember, these need to be aligned. Of rationale of the study, research aim, and research questions. Do these show a logical alignment based on research conventions with my research participants, population of my study, the sampling method, the sample of my study, my research design, data collection process, data collection tools, and then data collection analysis. So I'm basically asking it to check everything and the logic that goes through my project. Are my decisions supported effectively in my research design, data collection process, tools, and analysis? So I'm looking at it from different perspectives. I'm asking it to look at it from different perspectives. And give me suggestions for further improvement. This is going to be important. Okay. Now, I'm going to come back to the comments because I just want to. So you are always able to use AI to get feedback. Go ahead and have a look at policies. You're always able to get feedback. Now, this is what I'm asking you to do. Just get feedback. So there's too much text on this slide. So it is saying all the good things about how everything aligns and everything's working. What I'm interested in is this bit over here at the bottom, suggestions for further improvement. So that's why I'm focusing on it, okay? So these are the suggestions. Ooh, I should have used PowerPoint, but anyhow, go over the first one, second one, and third one. You already have my answers, but because it is in black for collaborate. But if you look at the first one, it is telling me to change my research question. Because the research question is only saying what are the benefits of peer assessment. So it says, why don't you make it benefits and challenges of self and peer assessment? Now, this is an interesting suggestion, isn't it? Because when you say what are the benefits, there is a risk of being biased. You're only looking at the benefits. But if you also look at the limitations, then you see that, okay, these are the benefits, but there are also limitations. So your work becomes more critical in terms of critical analysis, because then you can come back and say, these are the limitations, these are how we can overcome the limitations, or we have to be aware of them. Now, what about the second one? It says thematic analysis detail. While the data analysis plan is clear, providing an example of initial themes or anticipated categories could clarify your thematic approach. Now, if you are really analyzing and evaluating the feedback, you should say, no, this feedback is not for me. Why? Because it is out of scope of the proposal. You still don't have your data. You have no data collected, so you don't have themes. And even if you have themes, it is out of the scope. So if you go and write it down, you are eating out your words without adding any value. So that's a no for you. Number 3, ethics and confidentiality. The ethical considerations are comprehensive. However, detailing specific steps for anonymizing data in reports could enhance clarity. Again, no. because you have strict word count. And this is something that is not expected of you. If you're adding that in, you're just using your words for nothing, okay? So this is what I mean by critically analyze the feedback. So from here I understood that my research question could improve. So I went on and asked it the same thing. Now, what about my research question? I wanted to go deeper into the research question. I gave it that list, that simple, and then what it came out with was this. So it analyzed it based on all of those, but the bottom line is what I put in red. It says to enhance the specificity and complexity, consider a version like, in what ways do self and peer assessment practices impact secondary students' learning outcomes and engagement in a specific context? Now see how much better this research question is. It is more specific. Instead of just saying benefits or even benefits and challenges, it is saying in what ways. Maybe it is impacting, but the impact is neutral. It's not very big. It's not positive. It's not negative. But this research question is capturing that as well. So it is saying in what ways do self and peer assessment practices impact. And if you look at the proposal, you see it is about secondary students. So why not put that in your research question to make it specific and clear? And then, what kind of learning, what kind of outcomes? Learning outcomes and engagement. Again, making it more specific. So this is gotten from the literature review. So from the literature review, you know, if you read the literature, you probably know that this self-assessment, peer assessment can impact on learning outcomes and also engagement. These are the two big categories. So let's do it more specific, make it more specific. You have limited time, you have limited resources, and you have to be able to do it as effectively as possible. So the more specific it is, the more practical it is going to be for you. And looking at this research question, you can see the improvement, the process that you went through. And if you're actually using generative AI for feedback and thinking about it, you're kind of having that process over product because you are going step by step and you're learning from it, okay? So this is what I want you to do. I don't want you to get it to do your work. That's the worst thing you can do. You're not learning anything and you're getting yourself into trouble. But you can ask it for feedback, then learn from feedback and see how you can make your research better, okay? Now, okay, do you have any questions? And I'm going to come back to the comments here, but do you have any questions? If you don't have any questions, at least tell me what you think. Do you think you can use it in this way, and is it going to be useful? Yeah?
I think after you explain about that, I just reflect like I need to be really careful with AI. I mean, like you guys, when we take the advice from AI, we're supposed to also have our knowledge to overcome when, so it means like we don't just like copy paste everything that they say, because you can criticize it. So it's very good.
That's the point I'm making here. Generative AI could be used as a very useful tool if you don't forget you have a brain, right? Whatever it gives you as feedback, you have to analyze and see what applies, what doesn't, what you should take on, what you shouldn't. One important detail, tell me. Okay, let's just go over the comments here. Okay. Fantastic pieces. They had developed, got lost in rewording. Okay. Yeah, sometimes that happens. That's why I'm asking you, use it for feedback. If you give it a text and say, reword this, 30 pages, and you have to go over, read everything, and most of the time it gives you a version that is more difficult, at a higher level than you gave it. So it's not easy to read everything and understand it. So at the end of the day, if you want to take all of that on board, what you submit is going to be different from your original work, number one, and number two, you don't understand lots of it. That's why I'm asking you, don't do that, but get feedback from it. Try to learn from it. Now, okay, let's see. What else? Okay, yeah, sometimes that happens. That's why I'm asking you, use it for feedback. If you don't have any questions, at least tell me what you think. Do you think you can use it in this way, and is it going to be useful? Yeah?
I think after you explain about that, I
Yeah, sure. Just give me one sec. Logical structure, explain some difficult nouns. Okay. Oh, I jumped back. So, okay, let's see. Now, what I want you to do is, I'm going to take another question, but what I want you to do is to go ahead and copy and paste this first prompt from my slide. Okay, just copy and paste it, and then put in your text between double quotations. Whatever you have of your draft. Definitely not everyone has it as a complete draft. And get some feedback. What I want you to do next is to go over feedback, evaluate it, so there's suggestions for further improvement. Go ahead and evaluate it. What applies to you, what doesn't. So evaluate the feedback, what applies in your proposal, to your proposal, and its requirements. Remember, don't forget the requirements, right? They are there. And why? What suggestions you should consider and implement, and what does apply to your context and why. So this is what I want you to do right now. And then you're going to share that with me in this cute Padlet I set up in a discussion forum so we can talk about it and see how people are evaluating the feedback they get from ChatGPT, right? Of course, you can use any other generative AI you want. Yes, I can, for sure. So give me one sec, putting the prompt in the chat box, and then going back to questions. Wait. So jumping fast. And if you were here, just know that the prompt is on the slides on the week 9. Okay, are we doing this task? So go ahead, get some feedback, and then analyze and evaluate the feedback, and then put it on the Padlet I set up. So you have the QR code for the Padlet, but you also have the link to the Padlet at the bottom of the page. So maybe I give you, let's say, starting with 6-7 minutes and see how you go. So probably we have to limit it to that 6-7 minutes and then see how you're going and how you're analyzing and evaluating on and why. What suggestions you are not going to take on and why. Okay? So that's the process I want to go through. So the feedback needs to be analyzed. You need to critically think about the feedback, see what applies to you and why, what does not apply to you and your context and why. And tell me that in the Padlet. I want to see the process, that evaluation process going on the Padlet page. Okay, so I know you're still working on this, and I am going to ask you to work on this even after the lecture. I want you to populate your feedback with what you think applies or not, but I think I found a very interesting one. So feedback was clarify how, it is changing so quickly. Okay, so here, I'm interested in the Siri recipe for the moment. I'm reading that. So it says, the feedback is saying, your literature review should provide background about context of relationship between leadership and teacher profession, the types of leadership, and how they influence teachers' behavior and professional growth. So see, this, if you're getting this feedback, this is valuable. It is not AI doing the work for you. It is AI like a tutor who is telling you, hey, you are missing something. Go ahead and think about it. So, and then what I have, the concept of teacher profession, which might include aspects like professional development, pedagogic practices, and then empirical studies. And you've got, I will try to make it more detailed in type of leadership and type of teacher profession. So, good on you, Siri. But also, don't forget to talk about the relationship between these two. That's what in the feedback. And I actually like the feedback. I think it is very useful. So the relationship between teacher profession and leadership. What is a relationship? You have to also explore that in the literature. Okay, so I see that answers are coming. So that's amazing. Please continue working on that and adding your comments here with the feedback, but just don't copy and paste the feedback, because I want you to think about it. So the thought process is important here. Remember, we talked about process over product. So this is one part of your process. Learning about research and learning about what needs to be included, how it's specific, how to explain it, okay? So I want you to put the feedback here with your thoughts on it, with your comments. Do I take it on? Do I not? And why? Okay? So that is the thought process. And continue doing that, and keep posting, commenting on other people's work, liking them. This is a discussion forum. And I'm hoping during the next week, we can give some peer feedback, have a look at the thought process other people are going through, and learn from it, okay? And implement it in our research as well.